right, let's get rolling here. So let's take a look at our agenda. So we're kicking things off. For those regulars, you know, we like to kick things off with an audience profile. Just get people engaged and give Kyle, our guest speaker, a chance to get to know the profile of the audience so he can tailor his presentation accordingly. And then we've got Kyle with the Tableau Coders Initiative intro and overview of the capabilities of the different types of Tableau APIs. And then we're going to do a little networking. We're going to use the Breakout Room functionality so that you can talk in small groups about your use of APIs and collaborate on automation ideas. That's what this is really about, is just to spark the art of the possible. And then we're going to have Kyle entertain some API questions, again, using the raise your hand feature in Zoom, and then unmute to ask your question. And then Sarah Weber, former Tableau user group leader, now Tableau employee, is going to join us later with all the know before you go to Tableau conference tips. And then we'll wrap it up with some giveaways. And Brandy, take it away.
Thanks so much. I'm gonna steal screen sharing here. And now you should see this wonderful QR code, as well as a link. So to make it easy for everybody, I'm actually going to pop the link in the chat. But you could also take your phone, and if you have a smartphone, open up the camera and point the camera at this QR code, and a little link should pop up. You can click that pop up and it will take you to the audience profile. So at the moment, it should say something like, I haven't started the polling yet. So that will change in just a second, but I'm going to give everybody a chance to grab that information or to grab that link and that QR code before we get started. All right, so hopefully most people have that going, have access to it. It's pretty simple. I'm going to get this started with the first question. It is my favorite question of today. And I feel like it might be hotly debated. So let's see. First question, is a hot dog a sandwich? Oh, I could be convinced. Great, we've got a lot of people that feel the answer is no. All right, well, firm in those convictions, that's great.
Yeah, all the people are saying no, Dan.
All right. Okay, next question. What do you think Wisconsin is best known for? So I also like this one. You know, I did a little bit of research. Serial killers was kind of an interesting thing that came up. Made sense though. So a lot of people think we're known for the Green Bay Packers and beer, obviously, but cheese, dairy. I mean, I really hope that Rob voted for cheese. Yeah, Thomas just said in the chat he is shocked. I'm assuming he's being. I'm assuming that he's just playing around there because yeah, we're for sure known for cheese. Kyle, have you ever been to Wisconsin and eaten our cheese?
I have. I had a friend who had an internship in a summer in Minneapolis, and we drove through Wisconsin, and I cannot remember where we stopped, but we got big giant blocks of cheese, and they were delicious.
Awesome. Fantastic. Yes. All right. Well, I want to know who selected serial killers, but that's just mostly because I'm just curious. All right. Let's move on. Do you have any experience coding in any language? Okay,
Thanks.
Good.
I like that. I like those numbers.
yeah, it's good. Totally, you're still in the right place if you don't have any coding experience. Don't walk away. We're really, going to explore the art of the possible, and who knows, after today, you may want to pick up some coding. It's not as hard as you think it is. I will say it's a lot of Googling and copying and pasting code. So if you're good at Googling, you're also good at coding. So. That may be a little bit of a stretch, but you've got the foundational skills for sure. Okay, next question. Do you have any experience with the concept of APIs? So still a few people, definitely a good mix here. Many people have experience with APIs. That's wonderful. Awesome. My experience with APIs is a mixed bag. Every one of them is different. And I struggle with, with that. So I'm excited to hear what Kyle has to say. But those are awesome. Thank you guys so much for participating. Let's go to the next question. So which of the following APIs for Tableau are you familiar with? And you can select multiple on this one. And if you're one of those people that said you don't have any experience with APIs, there is a none option as well. So we've got a few people that maybe seem to have dabbled in Tableau APIs. So I'm excited to hear from you and maybe some of your experiences. I think your knowledge will be particularly valuable during our breakout room session. Okay. Awesome. Okay, let's keep going. This is great. Aside from building vizzes and exploring data, what types of Tableau related activities do you spend the most time on? And this is also a multi-select. So do you spend it on content management, which is like cleaning up maybe the content that's out there, publishing new stuff out there, data management, where you are preparing a data set or really focused on those like extract refreshes, user access administration, so creating groups and permissioning them to folders, or however you do your permissions in Tableau server. And then there's server administration, which is like, nodes and processes and backgrounders and all of that fun jazz. Or nothing. That's cool too. Wouldn't it be lovely if you didn't have to create new groups or new users, or stand up a new project or site? So that would be lovely. All right. Thank you all so much. Next question. If you could automate your process for one of the following, which would you be most excited about? You can actually select multiple here. So would you be more excited about, cleaning up that content and governing it, or, more effectively refreshing data on Tableau server? Or there's all sorts of like fun options here. It feels like this is like the sausage race at, AmFam Park.
What I read from this breakout, which I love, is I want to automate all of it. And that's how I roll. So I like this. I like
yeah. That's good. And if you chose something else, throw it in the chat. We'd love to know what you're thinking. What process do you want to automate? And this is the great, like the best meeting to come to if you want to automate stuff, because we're gonna figure out all the ways to do it. So Subscriptions, nice. Password resets, cool, great. Thank you for throwing those in the chat. Our last question of the day is if you're going to be attending Tableau conference, and this is going to be yes in person, yes virtually. It's free if you go virtually, by the way, or no. And maybe you're choosing no. I mean, there are many reasons, right? Hopefully you're going on vacation and you're like, nah, I'm going to be in Hawaii or something. I also know that the Tableau conference is at the same time as the Alteryx conference, which is slightly disappointing. So it's a bummer. Vacation for you. Good job, Jordan. I'd love to know where you're going. Hopefully it's Hawaii, because I did not plan that. But good. I'm glad a lot of people are attending virtually. That's awesome. If you're going in person, again, Patrick McCormick is also attending in person. So feel free to track him down. I'm sure he'll be wearing his cheese hat.
Absolutely.
Cool. Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for taking the time to answer these questions. I'm going to turn it back to Patrick.
All right. Next up, we've got Kyle Massey from the Tableau Coders Initiative. So I discovered the Tableau Coders Initiative with an email invite, I guess, and I was thoroughly impressed with the organization. But it's really a great training program. Okay, am I still here?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're good. We can see your screen.
Okay, I got a message that Zoom quit unexpectedly.
Oh, no.
Talking. But anyway, so welcome to Kyle Massey. We're thrilled to have him with us, and I'll let him further elaborate on the Tableau Coders Initiative and what all's involved. Take it away, Kyle.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Patrick and Brandy, for having me in the meeting today. I'm going to go ahead and steal the screen share here. I've got some slides prepared. Let's see if this will stop the other. Yes, I do want to do that. And let's see. And I am sharing the wrong screen, I think. Am I sharing the full screen PowerPoint? Nope, I'm good. All right, great.
Oh, you're good.
Excellent. So you guys know you're at the Wisconsin Tug. So I've got my Twitter handle here. I'm just going to do a quick intro. So who am I? My name is Kyle Massey. I am located in Columbus, Ohio. I work at a very large financial institution. Some of you might be familiar with Zach Geist. He's a Tableau visionary. He's my boss. He's kind of the person who convinced me to start doing this Tableau Coders Initiative with him. We noticed that there were a lot of specialty tugs, but there weren't a lot dealing with this kind of stuff. And this is what I do all day, every day. So we thought we would, let's spin up a new tug and see if we can get some participation. So just a couple other things about me, and then I'll give some more details. As I said, I'm in a Tableau COE at a very large bank here in Columbus, Ohio. My official title is a software engineer. So even though I work for a Tableau COE, I hardly ever use Tableau at work. I'm usually coding most days. I specialize in automation and user experience. I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to some of the screen caps that I have for you guys. I originally grew up in Cincinnati area, but I moved to Columbus in 2004 to attend the Ohio State University and just never left. So Columbus has been home for longer than Cincinnati was at this point. So as I said, I went to the Ohio State. I live with my partner, Dan, and we have 2 pets, a dog and a cat, and we recently brought in 2 robots, a vacuum and a mop, and their names are Clean Elizabeth I and Louis XIV. So I love to share those cheesy names any chance I get. Outside of coding, I'm really into video games. I've been playing Horizon Forbidden West since the day it came out, still playing it. I love true crime. I saw somebody was talking in the chat about true crime stuff a minute ago, I think. So I'm really into that stuff. And doing projects around the house. Like we just remodeled our bathroom. I'm finishing up the stuff on that. So that's how I like to keep busy outside of work. So the Coders Initiative, what I kind of gave a little bit of background on what this was, but just to elaborate, we are holding bi-weekly sessions. So every other Wednesday at 8 a.m. is the time we've been going with, where we basically have, we've broken it into sections. We started with the REST API and went from how do I even make an API call to, in our session yesterday, we stood up a project, created groups, added users to them, put content in the project, and refreshed that content all in one go. And we're just kind of piecing together and giving real world examples of how folks can take that and run with it in their environments. So as we said here, Zach we are currently on a hiatus. Zach decided to go and have another baby, with it's actually due Monday of next week. So he's going to be out on paternity leave for the next 8 weeks or so. So we're going to take a little break until the end of June. But the first 5 sessions are available on, well, as of today, the first 4 sessions are available on YouTube. The 5th one should be posted soon. And we have links to all of the slides and the videos and the GitHub repo if you're interested in looking through some of that code at the links here, datatheories.com/Tableau Coders. And then I have a link to the GitHub as well. And like I said, we'll return in late June. Now, so there's another initiative that I'm going to start on May the 12th called Tableau Coders Office Hours. So because of the format of the normal Tableau Coders sessions, it's more of a we're presenting something to you and then we do Q&A at the end. We don't always get everybody's question. We can't always go that deep. What I want to do is flip that around and have more interactive sessions where folks can just come and say, I have a question or an idea, what should I do next? And that's the intent behind these office hours. So these events are already on. I'm just using a Google Calendar. I'm not going to go through Splash or anything like that because it's a lot of overhead for an official tug. But feel free to just join any of these. Hop on. It's just going to be an open discussion, brainstorming type event. And like I said, these will be every other Thursday, and I'm going to alternate mornings and evenings because we had a couple requests for that with the standard sessions. But yeah, if you're interested, check out one of these links and join any or all of them. And I look forward to maybe chatting more in depth with some of you. So moving on, we also have a Tableau Coders channel on Slack, so that Zach and I are both active on there. There's other people who have attended the events that have started getting a little bit more active in this community. So you see the link here if you're interested in joining us on Slack. We'd love to have you. And so the first slide I have here is why should I learn to code with Tableau? And this always happens. The cat is screaming at me because he knows I'm talking to a bunch of people. Sorry. So why should I learn to code with Tableau? And based on some of the results that we were seeing there, it's because some of that non-Tableau stuff sucks. Nobody wants to do it, and it takes a lot of time, and you could be doing more creative things or things that more directly benefit your users or your stakeholders, whoever it might be. So automate the boring stuff, get rid of the repetitive stuff. You just free yourself up to do some better things. And another thing I put is remove bottlenecks created by manual touches. So one of the options in the polling was about deployments, content management. If you're at a larger company like I am, you probably have some sort of approval process to put something from a non-production environment into production or similar type of pipeline setup. And if you're not automating things, that requires someone to go in and touch something, and that slows it down. So those are also the kinds of things that you can think about, ways to automate that, so that if somebody has to get an approval or click a button, that's fine, but everything else should just happen on its own. Empower your users. Again, with this production versus non-production that I'll kind of go into as well, we often find that there are things that our users know how to do, but they don't have access to, and we can't, because of the way that Tableau server access works out of the box. We can't give them access to do one thing because it would give them access to do something else, and that's an issue. So this is another way you can use automation to say, I want the user to be able to do this, but I can't let them do it through Tableau server's UI. Those is just another use case here. Another one is gain insights about your server, your content. You can use APIs to pull a lot of reporting information. I'll touch on some of the different uses, and we'll probably get into that in the brainstorming sessions as well. And then, as I always say when I'm talking about coding stuff, is really the sky is the limit. If you can think of it, if Tableau does it, you could probably find a way to automate it. So that's how I always try to approach these. As Patrick's used one of my favorite phrases, which is the art of the possible. If you can dream it, you can probably code it. If not, you can find a way to get 99% there most of the time. So a couple slides just to say, how do I get started? So these are stolen from our first session of the Tableau Coders Initiative. So if you go out and read those slides, these might look kind of familiar. But first thing I definitely recommend if you're interested in getting started is going out to tableau.com/developer. You can sign up for a free site on Tableau online. Now this is it's a little bit better than just using Tableau Public to develop with, because it acts more like a server that you would use, in a professional setting. It gives you the ability to test out all of these APIs in a site where you can create as many projects as you want, move things around. It helps a lot. And a lot of times when you're doing this kind of exploratory stuff, you don't want to do it while you're logged into work. So it's just easier. So definitely recommend that. It's totally free. And then these 3 tools at the bottom, these are just my preferred tools. We won't go too far into using them in this session, but we do in the Tableau Coders videos if you are interested. Python is my preferred coding language. It's very easy to read, it's very easy to pick up, but it's also very powerful, and it's gotten more and more popular in the industry over the years, such that just about any large institution at this point is going to have some support for it. So it's usually a safe bet, and it's not as intimidating as something like Java, which can be kind of hard to just jump into. Visual Studio Code is an IDE, which is basically an application that you use to develop applications. Don't worry that it's associated with Microsoft. It's a good product. And then Postman is an application that you can use to send calls to an API while you're testing things out, make sure they work correctly. So I'll talk about that in a little bit. Okay, so moving on, this is our goal, our cheesy goal that Zach and I laid out and we talk about every time on Tableau Coders, which is we just want to teach others to code with the Tableau developer or with the APIs and developer tools. And we want to keep it safe and friendly. Every question is valid. Every experience level is valid. If you're not comfortable raising your hand here, reach out on Slack, reach out on Twitter, reach out on email. We just want to help people kind of embrace the power that Tableau already has. All right. So just some basics about APIs. A lot of people said they had some familiarity. For those that don't, an API stands for Application Programming Interface. And what I said here is it's essentially a broker, et cetera, et cetera. But a good metaphor for an API, if you think about it, an API is kind of, imagine you're at a restaurant and you're sitting at a table and what you ultimately want is your food from the kitchen. And you're going to look at a menu and say, go tell the kitchen to make this and then bring it back to me. The server in this scenario, your server as in your server at the restaurant, is the API. It is taking the commands that you're sending and translating it to something that the kitchen knows what to do with, and then they will take what the kitchen produces and bring it back to you. That's a very simple way of thinking of what an API does. It sits between the user and a system and helps them communicate and make things happen. I talk a little bit about what makes it RESTful. I don't know if we necessarily need that for this. And for Tableau Coders, if you're going through the videos, I just call this out. We'll talk about the REST API and TSC, which is the Python version library that helps out with the REST API in the same term. So if you hear that, we kind of mean the same thing. So a little bit more about the REST API here. I'm going to kind of skip over these slides and get more into the example stuff. But there's some things to know here, a couple good links. And one thing I will say, I think, Brandy, you were saying your experience with APIs is a mixed bag because they're all different and sometimes they're not documented very well. So you just got to throw stuff at the wall and hope you get the response you want. I will say that Tableau's REST API is extremely well documented, and it helps a lot when you're trying to dig in and learn new things. Is they've got an example for just about everything. So that I would definitely recommend clicking on this documentation if you're interested and having it kind of guide you with what you want to try and figure out. So let's jump in. So before I move to the next slide, I do just have to say, I was not able to give you a demo of the application that we built internally, but I do have some doctored screenshots to show you guys and kind of walk through. I've scrubbed them so that there's nothing internally identifiable in them, but I do have to ask, please don't take any screenshots of the next few screens. These are just for a demo only. Just kind of, again, kind of trying to inspire, walk through the art of the possible. So internally, we've developed a web application that looks like this. And what this does is our users come here instead of logging into Tableau server, and we've created different flows for them where they can deploy content, they can stand up a new project, they can add and remove schedules. So you can see here, the user comes here, they land here. We've already identified who they are using our firm's identity provider. So they land here and we know what they have access to, what projects they should be able to touch, et cetera, et cetera. So they land here, and the first place most people are going to want to go is to this tab on the right, on the left called Manage. And within here, because I'm a COE, I can select whatever project I want. A normal user would just come in and on this left-hand side, they would only see projects that they have access to. So from here, you can see it's just kind of a quick overview. This is what's in your project. Again, some of this stuff is a duplication of Tableau server, but instead of sending them both places or saying, hey, you can go here to look at it, but if you want to touch it, come over here, we kind of built a one-stop shop approach to this. So from this screen, there's several things that they can do. And when I go here, the first thing that I'll show you is we give them the ability to update a connection. So if database server changed, new version rolled out, new Oracle service was rolled out or whatever, we give them the ability to give us that information and we'll update it for them on Tableau server. We also, in the next flow here is our deployment flow. I had to scroll down because there was some stuff at the top that I couldn't show you. But when they click on deploy in this view, they're just presented with some dropdowns and say, what workbooks and data sources do you want to deploy? They make their selections, it kind of builds a shopping list for them. We let them, if they're a large project that have a lot of things going on, we let them search through it so they don't have a really long scroll. Once they do that, if they're going into a project that uses managed permissions, we give them a chance to set permissions on something during the deployment. So that it doesn't land without any permissions or with incorrect permissions. I mean, you can see here we've kind of tried to replicate the look and feel on Tableau server so that it is kind of familiar to them. And further in the process, if they have any passwords that are necessary for this, we'll ask them with a very similar dialogue that I showed you before. They hit this deploy button. It goes to their manager for an approval in our in-house approval system. And as soon as that approval happens, we kick off the deployment. And this process used to be completely manual up to about 1.5 years ago. Somebody would submit a request and our SLA for getting that request into the new environment was 5 business days, which is horrible if you're trying to iterate with Tableau and get new information, new dashboards or whatever it may be out to your stakeholders. With this process, the only bottleneck is the manager hitting that button, and most content is deployed within 15 minutes. So obviously huge difference and a very, very, very good customer satisfier for us. Not only for the customers getting what they want faster, but now we don't have to do these deployments anymore, which is probably the bigger advantage. Just so some other things to show you that we've built in here. So when you're looking at this section called extracts, this is where for things that have an extract connection in them, we give the users the ability to run now like you would, or refresh extracts on Tableau server and add or remove extract schedules. And this is, again, one of those things where we can't give them the ability to do this on a production server because they would be able to do other things. So we want them to have the flexibility to do this. But we use the REST API and other automation opportunities to build this UI for them where we can let them in a more controlled way. So you can see here, we give them the option to run now, add a schedule, remove a schedule. We show them the schedules that they currently have, things like that. On the next screen, this is like our pride and joy that was just released a few weeks ago. So again, due to the size of our institution, onboarding a new project, which involves three environments for us: a non-production environment, a pre-production environment, and production. It doesn't really matter what the difference is, but that of course means 3 times the work. It's not just set up the project once and go about your way. We use AD groups internally, so those have to be created, and then they have to be populated, and then there's different groups based on the environment. We have to make sure that they get the right permissions in each environment. So the process of standing up a brand new project from our small little COE, our SLA for that was 3 weeks. This onboarding automation allows a user to have a new project that they can use the very next day. And the only reason why it takes that long is because it takes AD, Active Directory, a while to sync up. But we collect some information from them. We send it through our automation, which creates groups for them. It puts them in our request system. It creates the project on Tableau server, links up the groups, gives them the right permissions, and then sends the person an email that says, here you go, here's the links to your new project, all within about 15 minutes and no touch from our COE. So like I said, we just released this about a month ago, and it's been a real hit. So let me switch back over here. And then another one that I'll just show you, this is very useful that we point people to a lot is, I don't know if you've ever had the experience where someone sends a link to you and is like, hey, I need access to this. Or someone says I need access to this, but I don't know who the project owner is, and I don't know what the AD group I should join is, et cetera, et cetera. And because of the size of our infrastructure, it's a lot of digging around for us too. So we built a tool here where the user can select a project, give us an AD group, or give us a URL from Tableau server, and we will return to them what projects it's associated with, what groups they would need to join, and some links to get them started. And again, it's just the idea of a one-stop shop where we've automated just about everything that we know our users do often. And instead of having to say, okay, open a ticket and I'll try to get back to you in a business day or up to 5 business days, we just send them on a link. They can do it all on their own. So it's just some outcomes. I kind of shared some of these, but just to kind of brag a little bit about some of the stuff that we've done. So the version of the app that I just showed you was released. Actually, I can't believe I didn't know this. Like yesterday was our 1-year anniversary of the app launch. I have to say something at work. But in the last year, we have automated almost 25,000 content deployments. So if you think about the fact that that was 5 business days down to about 15 to 30 minutes, it's somewhere in the ballpark of 1 million hours saved when I did the math. So it's incredible. It's almost like I almost don't even believe it sometimes when we talk about it. But and like I said, users can do just about anything they would ever need without waiting for us. The only person they need input from is an approver or a manager. And like I said, thousands of hours saved and freeing up our COE to do bigger and better things. If any of you have ever been to the conference and heard Heather Goff speak about some of the training that we do at JPMC, we have an internal Tableau Academy that she does a great job on. Those are some of the kinds of things where we didn't have enough time to focus on those things always when we didn't have this automation in place. So it really does allow you to kind of get something going that your users can rely on, and then use your brain power other places. And so that really brings me to the end of what I had to show you guys. I don't think I filled my full 30 minutes. So if we want to, maybe we can expand the brainstorming sessions, or if we want to do some Q&A now, whichever you guys prefer, Brandy and Patrick.
Yeah, well, there have been a few questions in the chat, and I've actually made note of them, so I can read them off and maybe you can answer them.
Yeah,
and
sure,
then,
that'd be great.
Of course, I think it's always good to maybe leave a little bit of time after the breakout rooms in case there are follow-up questions, right? Because I fully expect during the brainstorming breakout rooms, the goal is to chat and share ideas and ways that you can use this information to automate the stuff that you do every day. And hopefully through that process, you're going to have more questions for Kyle.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that we leave time for that. But the initial questions that I have for you, the first is, are there any security concerns when using APIs?
Yes. So I mean, in general, the answer there is yes. Anybody, anybody who's smart enough and motivated enough could be a bad actor if they really want to. Tableau does a pretty good job of locking that down. It's all based on the access that you have. So if you're if you only have view or read only access to a project or certain things within the project, then the API will only let you do up to your permission level in Tableau server. Internally, our firm it takes an approach of using what we call service accounts. So they're accounts that aren't linked to a human. And then all of our applications use those accounts, and they're just audited. They're just easier to audit, and we don't have to share passwords or anything, which is always a bad idea. So long answer is yes, but it can be, you can work around it. But it is good to know that when you're working with an API, you just need to be mindful of, do I have more access than I need? Is the user going to have more access than they need? Should I use some sort of other account that I can control, but that's not tied to a person? Those are all good things to consider.
Yeah, and don't put your password in the code.
And do not put your password in the code. That's a good call.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that. So I think there were a few people that were very impressed with the kind of front end UI that you've created for your end users. And obviously that is not Tableau server, like native Tableau server. So what language or technology was used to create that front end?
Oops, I think I accidentally took, let me put this back. I'll bring this back up. Can you guys still see my screen?
Yeah, we can see the My Workspace bit.
1 second. I have this weird, when my work space, my work session is running in the background, sometimes it locks, and it locks like my screen in front of me. There we go. Except I wanted to go back. Here we go. Okay, so yes, so our front end it uses a JavaScript framework called Vue Js. You may have heard of ones like React or Angular. They're all JavaScript frameworks. They essentially just come with what they refer to as components. So like, we didn't build this card or these individual drop downs. They're part of this framework. So we can just drop it in and say, oh, I want an autocomplete, I want a text field. And it has helpers for CSS, which is how you style things within a web page, so that we get our paddings uniform. We don't have to worry about any of that. So Vue.js is the framework. We also use an extension of that called Vuetify, which uses the Google material design principles. So if you notice, typically if you look at something Google, they all look the same. The icons are similar. Apple's probably the better example of that, but Google's material design is kind of the web standard, and what this package allows us to do, to just kind of look and feel like a website you've seen before. On the back end, so all of our front end communicates with a back end, which is actually a full-fledged API. So we have our own API for this application, which then branches out and talks to other APIs. Our API is written in Django, DJNGO, which is kind of an industry standard API tool. Very, very, very powerful, free. You can use it for personal projects as well. So we've actually, like I said, we built an API to talk to other APIs. So we have our identity API within Chase, we have our approvals, et cetera, et cetera. So those are really the big two, are Django and Vue.js.
Yeah, and really making it clear how, you guys are the right people to talk about Tableau APIs, APIs on top of APIs.
Absolutely.
Okay, next question is, how do you determine if the time to code something is worth the value?
That's always a conversation that we have to have, especially in our environment. We have I have a term that I use for them, and I don't want to, not to offend anybody, but we call them our special little snowflakes, because they think anything that comes from them is the most important thing in the world. And sometimes it's, oh, I want to, instead of seeing all this listed at once, I want it to be paginated. well, you're the only project we have that has 85 groups tied to it. We're not going to automate something like that. You know what I mean? But essentially where we would make that decision for us would be, how many hours is our team spending on this per week versus how much would we save if we automated it? So if it's something where, we get 10 requests a week and they only take 5 minutes, it's not going to be very high on the list. But with onboarding, we only got typically, because I think users knew how long it took, we would only get about 3 to 5 of those a week, but it's a solid at least 2 hours worth of work for somebody to stand up in all the environments, make sure the groups are tied in, plus our users have to do part of that. And if they mess that up, then it comes to us and we have to, it creates a back and forth to get it sorted out. So that's a big one. Is it prone to human error? If it's low effort but very prone to error, it might be worth automating. If it's low effort, low impact, low volume, put it in your backlog and save it for a rainy day. But focus on the things that you're going to get the biggest return on first. So for us, that was deployments followed by manual refreshes and onboardings and things like that.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm just keeping an eye on the time, and actually well, let's throw out another question real quick while I look this up. So it sounds like, okay, so here's the question. Has your organization always been organized around the COE model, or have you migrated to a COE model from a distributed Tableau management?
So I have been with the COE that I'm in for about coming up on 3 years. Prior to the formation of this COE, there were, kind of the distributed, just everybody, if they wanted a Tableau server, they stood it up, and Tableau would just send us separate bills. So that, they didn't care. But ever since this COE was created, we started off as the COE for the community side of the bank. And then we just kind of started showing like, hey, we know what we're doing. Give us your Tableau server and we'll make it better. Or, bring it under our purview and you get the benefits of using our automation, sharing what we already know, what we've already gone through, and not having multiple versions of Tableau desktop out there anymore because certain folks didn't want to upgrade their server because it was too hard, or, they had things that were going to break. So we've kind of become the COE that eats other COEs. And we actually just recently took on another group of servers and kind of realized that they have not been following our model. So that is something to keep in mind too. If you are a COE or if you're standing up a COE, sometimes a lot of that initial work is just getting everybody on the same ground.
Totally. So we're actually right about time to do the brainstorming breakout rooms, but we only have one more question left. So I'm going to ask it. Then we're going to do the breakout rooms. And then if there's any additional questions that come up from those, we'll have some time for that as well. So, so the last question I have for you right now is, can you call a Tableau API via a batch command line?
So yes, you can use curl, which is a command line application to make API requests using XML. It would not be my preferred way to do it. I would probably use Postman, the tool that I mentioned before, just because it's a little more, it's graphical. It has like auto formatting and things like that in it to kind of, save you from yourself. But if your option is command line, you can definitely use, there are definitely, curl is one, there are other packages you can install too to make those calls directly from a command line. Definitely doable.
Yeah, I would just tack onto that. Thanks to Tableau Coders Initiative, I wrote a little Python program that calls the Tableau API, and then I just call that Python program from Windows Scheduler.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great way to do it too. If you're in a situation where you can run stuff like that locally, that makes it so much easier. And in our COE, we have to push stuff onto servers so the application can run from there, and that obviously makes it a little more complicated. But
awesome. Well, thank you for taking the time to, you know, at least give us, I mean, just quite an overview of the APIs, a little glimpse into, you know, what's possible, and answering some of those questions. So the next portion of our meeting is actually going to be this breakout rooms brainstorming component where we're just going to break up into like random small groups and just start talking about what Kyle has shown us today, and just coming up with some ideas on like what would you want to do with it if you could do something with these APIs, if you could automate some stuff, what would you want to automate? So definitely stick around, because it's going to be great. I feel like I know I have some ideas, and I'd be curious to hear everybody else's perspective. So I think with that, Patrick, if you want to do the breakout rooms, or obviously if you have anything to add before we break up into the different rooms, please.
Yeah, so I'll create the breakout rooms, and everyone will be assigned automatically, and we'll be in the breakout rooms for 15 minutes and then come back and resume our meeting and share the ideas that we came up with.
Awesome.
All right, here we go. Good luck to get Kyle in your room. So did we not get into a room? Welcome back, everyone. As you come back, pop some of the ideas that you came up with in the chat so that we can share them with the rest of the group. One of the ideas in my breakout room was triggering schedules from an external process. Have you had any experience with that, Kyle?
Yes, absolutely. And what's funny is if you look in the last session in GitHub for Tableau Coders Initiative, this is one of the things we do. It's a very simplified kind of real world example of the scenario would be someone hands me a list of extracts on Tableau server that need to be refreshed ad hoc. And I'm going to run through those. You could do the same thing with adding or removing extract schedules. So if you said everything in this project is currently refreshing at 9 a.m., I needed to start refreshing at 7:30. It'd be a very similar process. You can feed a file into your code that has information about the workbooks or data sources and the schedule that you want. You can do it all in one go.
Excellent. So I had one person mention that they only have Tableau online. Do you want to talk about that again?
Yeah, all of the APIs, everything that I showed would still be possible through Tableau Online. The only thing that you might not be able to do on Tableau Online is site level things. So you might be, if you get locked out of doing anything above your site. So for most of the things that I showed you, that wouldn't be a concern. And for more context, when you sign in to the Tableau REST API or when you use Python to sign in, you sign in site by site. And then if you need to do things on multiple sites, you switch anyway. So it doesn't even really affect how you write those requests. So you should be perfectly fine with Tableau Online. I'm assuming, sorry, the only thing I'll add there, assuming you mean Tableau Online and not Tableau Public. Tableau Public does work a little bit differently, and a lot of the API stuff is not available there.
Okay, and do you mind if I just chime in and ask if some of it is available there in Tableau Public?
I would have to go back and check. It's been a long time. If you're interested in learning more about the APIs, though, and I would definitely recommend just signing up for a dev site at tableau.com/developer. It's totally free. It's totally, I mean, it's full featured. You're limited to you can only add 3 users to it, obviously, because people would abuse it otherwise. But in terms of learning the APIs and the functionality, it is a fully functional, complete site on just like any other site on Tableau server.
What was the name of that again? The
Tableau. Yep, it's tableau.com/developer, and it's they'll call it the data dev program. But when you sign up, you'll get a link that's here's your site on Tableau Online, and you just go in there, and then you can do whatever you want. You can publish, you can create projects and sub projects and groups and all that stuff.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome. So, Brandy, I see some questions that you put in the chat. Do we want to just kind of go through those, or do we want to have folks raise their hands? Or I think you're muted, Brandy.
Yeah, sorry, thank you. So I actually put, I guess they're not really questions, but they're brainstorming ideas that we came up with in our group. I thought I would share because I think that they're awesome. The other thing I'll just note is if other people threw things in the chat, I don't think you see the chat. If people posted stuff in the chat before I was able to come back to the main room, I am not seeing that. So I apologize if I'm missing any questions, but those are some of the brainstorming ideas that we came up with that I thought were particularly useful, and we can certainly talk about them. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. So, and when I was speaking about the way that our application runs everything with a service account, so that actually addresses the first one here: refresh extracts even if you're not the owner. So as long as the account is above the person or at the same level, then they can do that. So our accounts that run our automation are site administrators. So they have the ability to refresh anything. So that's kind of how we get around that. And it's one of those. It's another advantage of having these type of non-human accounts, because You don't have to give individual people the ability to do like super user stuff, but you do have an account that is allowed to do those things so that you don't get like those conflicts that you might get.
Yeah. I guess like totally. And I guess just to chime in there, like the whole reason I brought this up is because, you know, when you publish something to Tableau server, like a data source, you're the owner.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say I go on vacation. If somebody from my team wants to refresh that data source, they can't do that if they're not the owner.
Yep.
So like giving, you know, them some sort of UI to be able to refresh a data source, even when I'm not there, would just be really helpful.
Yeah, and with Python, with the TSC, the Tableau Server Client for Python, you're looking at about 10 lines of code. It's not even difficult. Yeah.
Great.
So, all right, create new schedules, totally doable. I mean, that one's just, you can absolutely do it. If you look in the documentation for the REST API, there's a call for it. There should be an example for it. Automatically setting up subscriptions mirror from someone else. You could do this. This would be, you'd get a little creative here and probably have to find the schedule that you want to emulate and then just copy its details and create another one. But again, totally doable. Adding favorites for people. That one, I don't know. I would have to look in on that one. We don't use, we're talking about favorites in Tableau server, I would assume, right? Not
Yeah. I guess
okay.
it kind of extends from like, you know, a lot of users that I work with, like they don't always necessarily know that they're using Tableau. And they, you know, they probably use Tableau because somebody sent them a link, or they get a subscription and they click on it. They don't do a lot of navigation within the UI where they can then favorite the things that they like a lot. And then if they go to use the mobile app, the default view is the mobile or is your favorites, and it's empty. So it's kind of confusing. So I would love to, we talked a lot about like onboarding new people and being able to set them up just really quickly with subscriptions or favorites to make their user experience a little bit more customized to them and get them up and running really quickly.
Yeah, I would have to look. That's not something that's just ever come across internally for me. I would guess that it is there, that the functionality is there buried somewhere. But I would have to double check on that one.
Totally.
But definitely a good use case. I definitely understand the benefit.
Yeah. Cool.
Exporting PDFs using URL parameters. I am not 100% sure I follow what we mean there. You can definitely export PDFs using the REST API. I think maybe we're asking about like where we would put in URL parameters for like filtering and things.
Right. I was being more specific because I'm confident that the exporting of a PDF or an image is doable via API. I think what's fascinating to me, or we've had use cases where you have like a dashboard and let's say there's a filter on your dashboard and you want to cycle through all of those options in your dashboard. And so therefore you use the URL parameters, right? And so you can build like a script that says like, go through each of these options and pass, you know, export this version of the dashboard using this filter or applying this filter to it. So.
Yes, definitely. What you would probably end up doing, you could do this a couple ways, and just in the interest of time, I won't go too far in depth. But yeah, now that you clarified, that's definitely something you could do. You could even combine that with like the it used to be called the JavaScript API, and now they're calling it the Embed API, and have some automation and a front end on top of that as well. All right, so there were a couple more in here. Kicking off an extract refresh after ETL complete. So depending on your ETL tool, this is totally doable. If you're using Tableau Prep, that it'll do it for you. But if you're using something like Alteryx, you could also, you can have it as part of your workflow, send a REST API call as like your very last step after output. There's also a program that works with the two, with databases and Tableau, called Control M. And basically what it does is similar. You tell it the jobs that you want it to monitor inside of a database, and then it will send a command when they finish to Tableau server telling it, okay, go ahead and refresh these. So two options. If I were to choose, I would probably choose Alteryx, but Control M is a database level solution for the same thing. Can the API be used to reassign content to new owner? Yes, it can, as long as the account that you're using is entitled to do that. So if you have an account that's a site admin, then yes, it can. But if you have an account that's at the same level as someone else, then no. And then last one for now, I think, can you have it update parameters or change filters in Printout PDF? It's kind of similar to the question we were just asking. The short answer is yes. You could also, like I said, use the embed API and build something where a user could have a UI to click on, and you could do like have them click and then just print, or depending on whether if you want it to happen all at once or if you want to give the user the ability to choose, you could definitely do either or.
Phenomenal. Lots of good questions and lots of good information.
And the last, sorry, Patrick, the last thing that I'll say, in this, I said this in my breakout room too, was I know that some people don't like asking questions in settings like this, or like you need to stew on it a little bit more before you know what your questions are. My Twitter has been in the documents. We're on Slack. My email's on there. If you think of anything after the fact and you're like, man, I wish I had spoken up, please reach out.
Awesome. And just a quick note, that Slack that you're referring to is the Tableau developer Slack workspace, right?
Yes, yes, exactly.
Perfect. Awesome. Thanks much, Kyle.
Thank you.
And next up, we have welcome back, Sarah Weber. Are you with us, Sarah?
I am indeed. Let me get present. Hi, everyone.
Awesome. So Sarah is now a Tableau employee, but many of you may recognize her as one of our Madison Tableau user group leaders. Welcome, Sarah.
Hi, thanks for having me. Yeah, I just thought I could spend a few minutes. You're going to be seeing these all over the Data Fam Twitter feeds and YouTube videos and LinkedIn. So there's going to be no shortage of information about all of the excitement coming to TC. I've been doing presentations with all of my customer accounts. I have all insurance customers, hot and heavy for the last week, and it doesn't stop until TC. So I thought I would just run through a few of the pages that I go through with some of my accounts, and I won't have as much time as I normally do with you all, or I'm sorry, as in these presentations, but I'll cover what I can, and feel free to ask any questions and reach out. So let me get the right screen up here. Oh, golly, which screen one? Yes, thank you. All right, hopefully you're seeing a Tableau conference slide. So the interesting thing about conference, I'm sure some of this is going to be old news for some of you because we all love TC, and you're all super fans because you're here. But it is virtual and it is live in Vegas. And so I hope some of you are able to go in person. As an employee, it would be my first chance to go to conference as an employee, and I'm not going at this moment, which is really sad. But as you know, with the world events, we have lower quantities of folks allowed to go. So we're starting with our customers first, as we should, and our data fam first, and then we'll fill in as we can. So let's just jump in. Quick summary. If this is all you see today, it's good. You've got an in-person experience. Mandalay Bay is where it's happening. We do have hotels available, hotel blocks. All of you need to know. There is a ticket cost that does not include travel and expenses. Obviously, that's in addition. I have a convince your boss letter if you need one, and tells them all the things you're going to learn and why it's so valuable. Share a few things with you today as well of why going in person is like nothing you have ever experienced. And I know the folks on the phone who have been there in person would agree wholeheartedly. There's nothing like it. So hands-on training sessions, we're going to talk about that. Brain Dates is only available in person this year, which is really sad for all my virtual friends because Brain Dates are an amazing opportunity to connect We're trying to come up with some new strategies using Slack and other ways to still foster that community feeling in this virtual environment. Virtual environment though, free, at home in your pajamas, at the office, at the coffee shop, wherever you want to be. I know last year some of the data fam actually still got together and like rented an Airbnb and like did it up and did conference, right? Which is pretty cool. Might be more than y'all are gonna do, but you know, you never know. So Wisconsin data fam unite. Let's keep going. Main broadcast events similar to years past. So we've got Mark Nelson will kick it off along with other execs from Tableau, talking about our product roadmap and all of the cool things coming. That also includes devs on stage. So right away, day one, you get those awesome keynotes where you see our developers showing you live the things they're working on. And this is a really fun one, especially in person, because the audience goes crazy over these things. And it's like you're on a crazy data rock concert like you've never experienced. Iron Viz is another can't miss event. I have a super fun video. You may have seen it on YouTube. There's a link in here. We can also maybe get it in the chat or follow up afterwards. That just like gets you so, like I get chills whenever I see the video. Just Iron Viz is so cool. It's Iron Chef meets a data viz competition. People build live on stage in 20 minutes. Views you can't even imagine. Blows your mind. In fact, that's a quote in the video. It will tableau your mind. So can't miss events. Those two things, devs on stage keynote and Iron Viz on day 2. Another awesome keynote though is Hannah Fry. You may be familiar. I'd be curious, the folks in the room who follow Hannah, but podcasts and TV shows and all the things that happen in today's world now. She's one of the best. So don't miss her event. You can check out her link. You see it on the screen to learn more about Hannah. Here's the amazing video. It's like, how long is it? 49 seconds. Should we do it? I think we need to do it because it's just so good. As long as it doesn't take more.
I don't think you shared your sound.
All right, you couldn't hear it?
No.
Oh, I didn't share it right with the right video. I'll skip it for now in the interest of time because you got to have the music. It's like all good shark scenes in a scary movie. Like it just gets the adrenaline going and super excited. So I will find a way to get that into the chat when I'm not presenting before the end here while we're doing swag drawings or something, because you have to see it. All right, so let's get to content. So we've got themes this year, tracks like all good conferences do to help guide you in the types of things you might be interested in. I'm not going to read all of the stuff on the screen, and then I can share this out. You'll find them when you go to the website as one of the many ways that you can start to filter through and see the content. But rest assured, what you want to learn is probably falling into one of these buckets. Good news, the schedule builder, session catalog is available. So now you can actually see what you're going to learn if you go. It's hard to sometimes register for TC, especially if you want to go in person and you don't know the actual content. Such an important moment when this goes live. So that happened, oh gosh, a week or 2 ago. Schedule builder is the next big release. That's early May. That's when you can start to really build out your schedule and say like, this is how I'm going to spend my time. Because I know you all have blocked off your calendars. Most important tip of all, if you're watching virtually, block your calendar and commit to it. You're going to have things that pop up, of course. And yes, you can go back and watch these in recordings. You won't, because nobody does, and nobody has the time to do that. And it's not nearly as fun if you're watching a recording that you could watch anytime. Attend live, plug it into your big screen. That's my favorite tip from last year. I think it was Mark Bradbourne's tip. Put it on your big screen, especially for devs on stage and Iron Viz, so you can feel the excitement and the adrenaline and get excited and geek out. Session catalog. You'll see it on the screen here where the arrow's pointing. Make sure you're on the right experience. So if you're planning to attend virtually, if you're still trying to decide, you might want to toggle back and forth and see, well, what's offered virtually, what's offered in person. Important thing to know is that we will be live streaming the main events. Okay, so your keynotes and all of those, that's all live streamed. But even the sessions that are available for both in-person and virtual, it's a recorded session that's available to you at home as a virtual attendee. So my friends at American Family Insurance are speaking, right? They did a pre-recorded session. They're set to go. That's all ready. It's going through editing and doing all the things for that virtual experience. They're also presenting live in Vegas. What does that mean? Not all sessions are offered in both environments. So you want to look through both experiences if you have the opportunity to kind of make that choice. If you don't, if you know you're virtual, jump right to virtual and use that perspective when on the website. And then use the filters, okay? You've got searchable, a search window where you can, if you know a speaker's name, if you want to look for ask data, you know, whatever it is that you want to learn about, just use that search box, obviously. And then you can see there's a theme option, roles, level, and industry. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. Here's an example. So I serve the insurance market, so I have this slide in my deck, and I left it in as an example. So if you pick an industry of financial services, you're going to see something that looks like this. Here are a bunch of different opportunities for sessions you can watch. Plus, I want to give a plug for my former employer, AmFam speaking. The starred items on the screen are available in both experiences. So you can kind of funnel through the industry, but don't just stick to that. Just because you work for an insurance company or for a retail company, expand beyond that, because you probably already know a lot about that. You can learn so much more from other use cases and other stories that you hear from other customer speakers. New to Tableau, you can search for. Look at all of these that show up when you say I'm new to Tableau. Some of the ones I've pulled out here, amazing opportunities. Don't miss it. If you're feeling like you're new, which so many people consider themselves a newbie for way too long, that's just one of the perspectives you can look at. A few more, right? So data plus diversity, data plus women, all of the things that we love about the data fam and bringing like-minded people and interests together. You can do this both in a virtual experience and live at the conference as well. And I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about speed tipping, because everyone loves speed tipping. I love that there is an advanced and a beginner option this year, because if you're new to Tableau and you go to a speed tipping session where they're showing you things that you have no clue about, it's just like even more it's mind blowing. Like you're like, I don't know how to even do this. So great opportunity there. Hands-on sessions, if you're going in person, when the schedule builder goes live, be ready to book it. They fill up fast. When you're at TC, they give you the laptop, they give you everything they need, and you just learn. All part of the conference ticket, free training, free under the bucket of your Tableau conference ticket. So if you're interested, my best tip, this isn't really a section in the filter, just type hands-on in this format and you'll find them. Sample schedule. This will be out with the schedule builder, but just so you know, Tuesday is when we've got the opening keynotes, devs on stage, and a welcome reception if you're in person. Wednesday highlights, that's day 2. We've got a promise of data keynote, Iron Viz, and data night out, which is rumored to be a pool party. I don't have anything official to say beyond that. Tableau Doctor, there will be minute clinics in Vegas and virtual appointments that you can book for one-on-one time as well. Awesome opportunity to work with Tableau product experts to get your most vexing Tableau questions answered. Calcs, things that you just are struggling with, bring them to the docs. Data Village is in Vegas. It's where all the fun happens. Ball pits and food and drink and networking and meetups and all the things is at the Data Village. And I think this is my last slide. Don't forget to do our photo booth. It's super fun. You can see the link there on your screen, tc22.virtualbooth.co. I encourage you to do it now and make it your Twitter post or your LinkedIn post. Tag Wisconsin Tug. And if you haven't registered, for goodness sake, do it now. And that's all I got.
Oh, so much fun. That was awesome and wonderful to have you back with us, Sarah.
Thanks.
All right, Brandy's got some giveaways for us.
I do. With the remaining few minutes, and for the people who have stuck around, you will be entered to win. So yeah, I've got some stuff to give away. I've already chosen winners. Again, this is based on the folks who stuck around. So the first prize goes to LS. If you could reach out to me directly on chat with your email address, I'd greatly appreciate it. You are going to walk away with this lovely package I've already put together, a Makeover Monday book, a data Tableau sweatshirt. It's very comfy. I have one. We can be twinsies. And then a corksicle like tumbler. It's really cool. So you're going to get that. So again, message me with your email address so I can get all your details. And then we also have Kalika Curry. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right. I apologize. You are also a winner. So again, if you could message me with your email address, I will send you some details, and I'll pick out something really nice for you. And then Mike Waldman as well. So those are our 3 winners today. Thank you so much for sticking around. Again, make sure you message me your email address so I can get all the details and get you some fun Tableau swag. I think if you can get it to me quickly, I can get them out the door this week and you can have them in time for the conference. So congratulations to our winners.
Awesome. And as we wrap up, looking forward, we've got a few Milwaukee event coming up May 26th. That will be an online event using sets for side-by-side data slice comparisons without duplicating your data source. Anything you want to add about that event, Brandy?
No, I mean, not really, but it's going to be fantastic. I mean, who doesn't love to compare, you know, like what if scenarios like this versus this and see how that goes? Plus, we're doing Tableau trivia and I'm going to have more prizes. So if you didn't win something today, come to that meeting.
There you go. And the Madison Tug is going to do an in-person only event on June 7th. Jen Shepard has procured this wonderful open air facility in Middleton, actually. So looking forward to that. And we're going to have a guest speaker about performance tuning and a lot of other events. So that's going to be a little bit longer event so we can do more topics. And then our next Wisconsin Tug is going to be online July 28th. If you would like to speak or have any requests for topics, reach out to Brandy or myself. And various ways you can stay in touch with us. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Twitter, we have a Slack workspace. Love to hear from you. And if you're going to be in Vegas, ping me. Love to meet up with you there. Otherwise, join Brandy on Remo.
Yeah. I feel like we forgot to mention that. But Remo, we're doing like a whole TC like virtual party. And I'm running it, so you know it's going to be fun. And it's going to be filled with more hot dog sandwich questions and more trivia and, you know, more prizes and all of the awesome things that, you know, I love. So it's going to be fun. And I think what I'll do, I already posted it, but we'll follow up with all of links to all of these things. And it's just going to be like a check, like check. I'm going to register for the conference and for all of these fun things. So keep an eye out for the email.
Awesome. Thanks everyone for attending today. And that's a wrap. Have a great day.
Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you all so much. Thanks, Kyle, and thanks, Sarah.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.